Hello guys, and welcome to the GunLocker. So I finally managed to get outside and film the second episode of my HFT journey, and it's taken me months just to find the time to be able to do this. What can I say? The weather's been atrocious, work commitments. When I have had a gap in the weather, I've had air rifles to review as well. So it's just put this journey of mine back, and just put it back by 2 months. I'm kind of upset with myself, but you know, what else can I do? Let me explain what I'm trying to achieve here. So I want to enter a national tournament, a big tournament in HFT. I've never entered HFT before. I want to go in as a wild card if I can, but you know, if I've got to join a club to go through the process of qualifying for a tournament, then you know, that's what I'll do. Who knows, maybe I'll find an open event. But what I want to do with regards to this tournament is enter it with as least modified a setup as possible. So what I have here in my hands is my trusty Weihrauch HW77K. It's in 2.2 and it's sub 12 foot-pound, and it's been married with a Wulf Hurricane 4.5 to 18 by 50 second focal plane scope. That's been attached to the rifle using a single piece sports match mount, which is very, very solid, and so far so good. Why am I using a 2.2 for an HFT? I guess it's because it's the caliber that I grew up with, and it's the caliber that I learned to shoot with. And why am I using a Springer? Again, because it's what I grew up with and it's what I learned to shoot with. Now, I've had many comments on my first episode saying that, you know, use a PCP, save yourself a lot of aggro. But that's not the point of this. The point is to test my skills. The point is to show people that actually you may not need all of that equipment. You may not need to spend thousands of pounds on air rifles in order to be able to shoot out to 45 meters, because the limits are the 12 foot-pound barrier, or is the 12 foot-pound barrier. So when it comes down to engineering, you really can't get much better than a Weihrauch, you know, not in my opinion. And those people that are spending thousands of pounds on, you know, really fancy air rifles, they're probably doing it in mind one, because hey, they can afford to do it. They enjoy having, you know, rifles of that ilk, I suppose, and they've got the money to spend. But do they really need it? Does it make that big a difference? I don't know. I want to find out though, I really do. And I also want to prove to those people that are maybe just starting out in the sport that you don't need to spend thousands of pounds. You really don't. I bought this rifle, it was second hand, but in beautiful condition, and it's absolutely mint, as you can see it. I bought this for £375. Now, the scope, on the other hand, yeah, it's almost as expensive as the rifle. But if you've got a rifle that shoots accurately, you really do want to invest in a decent scope that will perform to the same caliber as the rifle. No point having a really accurate rifle if the optics that you're using are rubbish, because they're going to let the rifle down, they're going to let you down, they're going to, you know, plant seeds of doubt, and that's not what you want. So that's it. The 2.2 Weihrauch HW77K, unadulterated. I've not modded it, I've not done anything with the trigger, I've not done anything with the spring. It is as it is, and that's the whole point of this. Can I get it to shoot well? Can I shoot well with it? Can I enter a tournament, and can I prove to everybody that it can be done? Because many people have done it in the past, but you know, they tend to get caught up with tinkering, you know, modifying, putting new springs in, tuning, all that sort of stuff. I don't want to do that. I just want to see how far I can get with an unadulterated good old-fashioned Springer. Now the point of this episode is I want to actually plot the trajectory, get my teeth in, the trajectory of the pellet. I've never done this before. I've always kind of sighted a rifle in at either 25 meters or 30 meters, and I've guessed it, I've winged it. You know, if the target was short of that, then I might kind of aim under, or I might aim over if it's further away than that, but I've never actually plotted the trajectory of the pellet. And because HFT is basically set up so that you're shooting at targets from 8 meters out to 45 meters, thereabouts, what I'm going to do, and what you'll see in a minute, is I'm going to move my target out starting at 8 meters, and I'm going to take 3 shots at meter intervals. So 3 shots at 8, then at 9, then at 10, then at 11, and so on and so on. And I'm going to plot the trajectory so I know exactly where that pellet is at the distances that I'm shooting at. Obviously at that point I then have to learn how to judge distance properly as well, because when you're in a tournament, once you've got this on your scope and once you take your first shot, that's it. You can't adjust it, you can't do anything else with it. It stays as is, and you're not allowed any, you know, rangefinders, so it all comes down to judgment. You'll note that I'm also sat on the floor. I've got myself a mat. I'm going to be laying down now. Because I'm plotting the trajectory, I'm actually using a rest, and I know that I should be up against the post, but this is more so for me to actually try and just plot that pellet line, as I've been saying. Oh, and to help me as well whilst I'm doing this, I'm just going to put the lid on here because the rain has started again. I have printed out some of these. Now what you see here is a diagram of, oops, sorry, it's a bit windy, is a diagram of the scope's reticle. And at each interval, so at 8 meters, 9 meters and so on, all the way out to 45 meters, what I'm going to do is, once I've taken the shot, I'm going to record where the shot has landed within the scope, and then I'm going to mark it off on the reticle here, so that I'll know what my holdover is, or my hold under is, in order to achieve, you know, the shot that I'm after at that distance, if that makes sense. So I've decided on Air Arms Diabolo Fields. These are 16 grain, 5.5 mils, actually 5.52s these are. The rifle is sighted in at 25 meters already, and let's make a start. Right, so it's the next morning. As soon as I finished that intro clip yesterday, the heavens opened again. So here we go. It's now Sunday morning. What you may make out downrange basically are a whole load of flags that my daughter very kindly got me from Amazon, and they're spaced out at meter intervals. The target is set at 8 meters, and the target that I'm using is different to my norm. I've actually created one that's got a scale in millimeters above and below the actual cross, the center cross, or the ball of the target, if you want to call it that. And I'm just going to basically, I had a thought about this, I'm just going to put 3 shots in at each meter interval, and I'll take you along the way. And then, as I said yesterday, each time I finish shooting at that distance, I'm going to mark it on that reticle so I know where my aim point will be going forward. Because remember guys, in HFT, once you take your first shot, you're not allowed to mess around with any of the settings. So the rifle was zeroed in yesterday, and yeah, I was quite surprised actually. First shot went straight in the center of the ball, which is fantastic. I'm using, like I said, the Air Arms Diabolo Field 16 grain. These are 5.52s. Yeah, we'll make a start. Obviously there's going to be a lot of cutting in and out of footage, so just bear with me in that, and no doubt it'll be in and out of breath as well. Let's make a start. Okay. Well, that's interesting because let me just cut this again. My scope is actually set for 30 meters with regards to parallax. So when I'm looking at this target here, it's blurred. I cannot see anything except for what I believe to be the center of the target. But by the looks of it, it's a nice shot. Last one. Okay. So, just try and do this so you can see me. At 8 meters, I'm going to go back to this. It's shooting bang on the center of the target. So I'm going to mark that down as 8. Encouraging. Right guys, so I'm going to switch off there and I'm going to move the target to 9 meters. Right, so what I'm doing, if you're wondering why I've got a t-shirt, an old t-shirt on top of the rifle, is because I'm laying it down and it's taking me a little bit of time to move the target. I don't want too much sunlight on it because it might affect the optics with regards to contraction. I'm not sure if it does, it's just something that I like to do. I don't want it kind of overheating, keeping it all nice and calm. Yeah, so we're now on 9 meters. Okay, and again, same shot space, so I'm aiming for the center of the target and it's hitting the center of the target. So on my pad, quick note, 8 meters plus 9 meters using the center reticle. Okay, now at 10 meters. It's just a nice flat shot at the moment. That's right. My finger slipped on the trigger there. I need to do that one again. Just try one more. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay, we move on. Okay, so those last, I'm not sure if you can see me there, but those last 3 shots, I had my center reticle on the target, so there was no hold over or hold under. The shots at 10 meters were a little bit splayed out. I think that's me. I think I'm just rushing and getting used to going up and down and trying to film everything as I go along. So I'm just going to take a little bit more time now as I start to stretch it out. We're now at 11 meters. Get myself comfy. And now with regards to parallax, my scope is starting to come into focus. It's still kind of very blurry, but nothing like when it was at 8 meters. Okay, so we're still centre target, centre reticle. Sorry, I'll say that again in case you missed me. We're still centre target, centre reticle. And that's at 11 metres. Do you know what? I much prefer being sat at the bench. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to change over the target down there because it's starting to open up and I want to be a little bit more accurate now. Okay guys, so we got a fresh target and we're at 12 metres. Okay, we're now at 13 metres. Sun's starting to come out in amongst the clouds. And each time I stretch that target out, it's slowly coming into focus within the scope. One more. Okay, so the trajectory is definitely starting to creep up the target, and it's definitely showing on the first dash between the mil markers. Okay, so we're at the 14 metre mark. Okay, so at 14 meters, again, it's within that first dash mark. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's basically here. The image that I've got of the reticle isn't as clear as it should be, but it roughly corresponds to where the pellet is landing on the target as I look down through the scope. Obviously, with every shot that I do, it's centre of crosshair on centre of target. I'm just mapping to see how much holdover or hold under I'm going to need to use when I shoot out at distance. Pulled that one right, and it's jumped quite much, well, quite a bit higher. Not quite much, I can't get my teeth in this morning. Let's try that again. Well, it's starting to creep up to the first mill dot. So that's interesting. That's you can definitely see the shots have raised on the target. It's still not at the first true mill dot, but it's between the dash and the mill dot. So I'm just going to make a note of that. Right, so target set at 16 meters. It's going to be the last set of 3 on that piece of paper, and then I'll swap the targets afterwards. Oops. Tell you what, I almost double loaded that then. That's the first. That's what happens when your mind races. Okay, 16 meters. That really flew away with that one. Okay. I feel like a fish out of water here. So the target's been stretched out at 17 meters now. And the target is starting to come into focus a little bit more. And the pellets are starting to lift. The nice thing is, as the target stretches out, it's kind of coming into focus with a parallax that's set on this scope at 30 meters. It's not crystal clear, but it's much better. Drop my pellet in the chamber, there she goes. I'm going to do one more. Just because I was looking at the flags and taking note of what's going on with the wind, and as you can see, you might be able to pick it up in the distance. The trees are swaying, but on the deck, you know, the flags are hardly moving at all. Okay, target is set at 19 meters. Honestly guys, you know, I can't believe that I've never done this before. It is so informative. It also, each time I'm doing this, it's kind of building a level of confidence so that I know that should I ever go for live quarry again, I know to put the crosshairs exactly where I want the pellet to drop at these sorts of ranges. Yeah, if you get a chance, try it out. Okay, target set at 20 metres. Okay, so at 20 metres, the point of impact is between the first stash and the first mill dot. So it looks like that last one might have just been a bit of a discrepancy. Let me put that there. Just make a note as well. Between first dash and okay, yeah, so interesting. Right, so we're now at 21 metres. And then after this one, what I think I'm going to do, well, we'll see, I might do another one. But I'm getting quite hungry now, so I think I'm going to, after this next run, go in and have a little bit of lunch. Or should I say late breakfast, because I've not had any yet. And we'll carry on. So as I look down the scope, all of those shots still landed in the same area within the reticle, and that's between the first stash and the first mill dot. Okay, so the target's set at 22 metres. Let's see what happens now. I'm getting too old for all of this up and down, up and down. So much easier going on a bench rest, but hey, it wouldn't be a challenge, would it? Right, so just making a note here, the 22 metre shot is definitely falling on the first dash line. Okay, we're back out, target set at 23 metres. Got a bit of a wobble on at the moment. I think that's down to the fact that I've just had a very nice lunch. Right, 24 metres. That was me. Okay, so at that distance I'm now dropping down on the reticle, so the point of impact is between the centre of the reticle and the first dash, so it's halfway between the two. Now, I'm not sure whether my camera died down there when I was shooting that last string, so hopefully it hasn't. It's set at 25 metres now. Yep, put another 3 in. Right guys, I think my camera is dying down there, probably down to the battery, or maybe I've got too much on the SD card, so I'm going to sort that out. But at 25 meters, it's basically dropping on the ball. So I'm going to mark the center of my reticle as being on the center of the target. So I'm going to say 25 meter true. Just call it true 0. Right, so if that is the end of my camera, what I'll do is I'll finish here for the time being. I might just carry on and do this, and I'll catch up with you in sort of, I don't know, once I've got all this sorted, and I can give you the results, so you don't have to keep watching everything that's going on. Alright, I'll see you soon guys. Right, well, I've just finished shooting out all the way to 42 meters, so I have been changing or moving the target every meter and doing a free shot group, or just trying to see basically what the drop is. I'm not too worried about the group, but I have surprised myself a few instances having groups well within sort of 15 mil out at distance, so I am really pleased with this. I'm really pleased with this Wulf scope. Like I say, it's the 4.5 to 18 by 50 second focal plane, and Wulf are very kindly sponsoring me with this scope on my HFT journey, so thank you very much. And again, if I've not mentioned it in the past, it's attached to the rifle using a single piece sports match mount, all very solid, very sturdy, nothing to worry about at all. The reticle it's interesting because in the very center of the reticle is a dot as opposed to a crosshair, and that dot at distance is covering, so out at 40 meters is covering just short of a 10 mil diameter circle. So yeah, it's quite good in that using these dots you can judge the distance of the target by how much area the reticle actually covers. So yeah, quite good. I mean, this is set at 30 meters. I'm not going to touch that now. It does have an illuminated reticle, but I'm not going to use that. The windage, the elevation, everything is set just as I want it to be. And what I'm going to do is basically I'll walk you out to the target so you can see where it is. And what I've had to do, my grounds drop quite a bit. I've got kind of a slight rise and then it falls down, so the target at the bottom there is it's sat on a table, and I've had to kind of lift it almost 2 foot off the ground for me to be able to see it from this position here. But that's the only way I'm going to stretch out to 42 meters. It's quite interesting. Now I have no idea how I've grouped down the bottom there with that last array, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you down with me and you can see how well I've done. And then of course after this I'm going to go inside and I'm going to analyze all the data. I'm going to create some graphs so that you can see what the trajectory of the pellet is. Now I made an error when I introduced this episode to you. I said the rifle was shooting at 585 feet per second. It's not, it's 558 feet per second. I got the 8 and the 5 mixed up. No, it's definitely shooting at 558 feet per second, and it's kicking out 11.16 foot-pound of energy, which is perfect. I really wouldn't want to go any higher than that in case weather conditions, you know, if it gets very hot during the summer, very cold, I know that the output is going to stay under the 12 foot-pound limit within the UK. So yeah, I'm chuffed. It's been a learning curve shooting off the deck in a prone position like this, and I know that it's rested, so again I've got more learning to do because I'm going to be up against a post and not a rest. But I needed the rest to make sure that I could plot that trajectory properly. I didn't want to put any more variables into the equation. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll walk you down to the target so you can see what we're doing. I'll be interested to see how I've shot at 42 meters, and then we'll go inside. So what I thought I'd do is just actually show you what I'm looking at from my vantage point, how far the target is away. So that's at 42 meters, and if I zoom in a little bit, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see it, but the wind has picked up quite a bit. It's blowing in from right to left. I put a flag on top of the target, and you can see it's kind of pushed that over, and that was wedged in quite well, and it's only a very thin wire flag. So anyway, let's walk down to the target and let's see what we've done. Okay, so this is me obviously walking down towards the target now, and you'll be able to see the table that I've actually kind of pulled all the way down here to raise the target. I'm not sure whether you can actually make out, but the wind is kind of gusting at the moment. This isn't too bad, but when I get past this yew bush, it's then open to the elements from down the valley. I'm just going to show you that in a second. So this is what we're basically looking at, and it's like a wind tunnel. So if I zoom in on these, where have I shot? I'm just trying to see. Okay, so I've got wow, yeah, I'm actually quite surprised at that. So oops, sorry, I was looking at the target and not at me. Let me just do this. So that's a 42 meter shot, that's a 42 meter shot, and so is that. Oops, table's just falling over there, look. So yeah, so I got two at 42 there and one at 42 here. So what are we looking at? That's probably 20 max spread there, possibly 35 mil, 40 mil. I'll measure it anyway and I'll get the group sizes. Obviously I have to tighten up, but this is the first time shooting from prone. I'll say that again in case it might not pick me up. So this is the first time shooting from prone in these conditions. I'm quite pleased with that. I know that I can tighten up, but the rifles perform well, and guys, don't forget, this is a Springer, it's not a PCP. Right, I'll catch you inside. So we're back in the studio, and yeah, it's been an interesting day shooting, and it literally did take virtually the whole day, but you know, it's something that I've not done before, and I wish I had. It's been very informative. It's allowed me to understand what the pellet is doing at meter intervals. Yeah, it was really informative. I'm going to basically put up on the screen a chart, and it's going to be this one here, so it'll be coming up somewhere around here. And what the chart is basically telling me, once I've had a chance to go through all of the different results, there's a whole load of them here, is that effectively between the distances of 8 to 10 meters, and then again between 25 to 28 meters, the rifle is basically shooting at what I'm going to call true zero. So the rifle was scoped in at sort of 26 meters before, zeroed in at 26 meters, and yeah, when I look at the way it's shooting, so if I put the center dot of the reticle on the target anywhere between 8 to 10 meters, and then again from 25 meters through to 26 meters, it's going to hit the target bang on, absolutely. Now, between sort of 11 meters going through to 24 meters, what I'm going to have to do, because the pellet is actually shooting a little bit high, or landing a little bit high of the 0 point, I'm going to have to hold under to a maximum of 0.75 of a mil dot. Is that going to make much difference? Not when you think that the overall, so between those distances at 20 meters, the highest the pellet was shooting was 17 mil. So I guess, you know, without worrying about it too much, I could literally put the crosshairs on the target without much hold under, and it should still hit. You know, it should hit the target, that's for sure. The interesting part is where the pellet starts to drop, and obviously you can see the chart there, and you can see that the bars are quite kind of stepped. But if you go for a mean line, in other words, you know, you kind of flatten out that drop, then it gives you an idea as to where you need to be aiming out at distance. So, you know, all the way out to 42 meters, the maximum drop there was 105 mil from where I was aiming. So that's how much the pellets actually dropped from 0. And coincidentally, at 42 meters, the actual, when I was looking through the scope, the point of impact was at -3 mil dot, which means to say that at 42 meters I have to aim over by 3 mil dot in order for that pellet to drop where I want it to go. And that kind of, you know, if I look from sort of 30 meters or 31 meters onwards, there is a consistent drop in that pellet, which means to say that I will have to aim over progressively as I, you know, stretch the distances out. And we're going a fairly even kind of holdover as it goes, you know, as it goes further out. And we're going, you know, to the maximum of 3 mil dot. For the most part, between 27 and 33 meters, you know, we've got a 1/4 of a mil, a 1/2 mil, and then a 1 mil dot. That's, you know, when you're looking through the scope, that's not a lot, in all honesty. From 33 meters through to 39 meters, you're going from 1 mil dot to 2 mil dot, where you're having to aim over in order for that pellet to drop on target. And then from obviously 40 meters to 42 meters, it goes down to 2.5 to 3 mil dot, which you have to aim over in order for it to hit. So yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I've certainly found it educational, and I'm sorry that, you know, my camera died halfway through the process, but in all honesty, I think you'll probably be bored to tears by then. But it has given, I believe, an insight as to quite an important test. Bear in mind that the chart that you see on screen is specific to this rifle and the energy that it's kicking out. Like I said to you before, it's achieving speeds of 558 feet per second. You know, in the intro I think I said 585. I got my 8 and my 5s muddled up, so apologies on that. But yeah, it's kicking out speeds of 558 feet per second, which equates to 11.16 foot-pounds of energy using the 16 grain Diabolo Fields. And like I said in the footage outside, I really don't want that to be any higher for fear of possibly touching that 12 foot-pound mark should weather conditions change. So if it becomes very hot, you know, whether the gases inside will expand, I'd rather keep it where it is. I've got a safe margin there. I know that I can turn up to an HFT event, and when it's chronoed, it will be under the 12 foot-pound limit, and that's all we want. With regards to the scope, again, a huge thank you to the guys at Wulf for sponsoring me and giving me this scope to use for the journey. So far so good. You know, it's performed really, really nicely, and I like the fact that, because you see, normally I'll go for a reticle that is a, you know, is a crosshair in the center, not a dot. And the dot itself does cover some some of the target at distance, and obviously the further you go out, the more of the target is covered by that dot. It's not a large area, but out at 42 meters, it's probably covering, well look, let me just get this here. So in the center here, let's see, we have a 15mm target. Okay, at 42 meters, that dot is probably going out to somewhere around about 13-14 mil in diameter, not radius. So it's almost covering the center of that target. But that's good, because it will allow me to judge the distance easier simply by looking at the target, assuming that I judge the actual bullseye at the right size. It will give me an indication as to how far that target's at. Again, I've still got a lot of learning, but yeah, I've got to say I am quite pleased with the outcome. And also, when I look at the results on these pieces of paper, now you would have seen it's been a bit of a windy day today. I think looking on the app, we're looking at about 26-27 km/h winds. The gusts were picking up towards the back end of the day, and especially when I started reaching out past sort of 39 meters, I had to go into the paddock with my target, and that had a crosswind that was coming in from right to left, and that was affected a lot more than the closer distances. But even then, I looked at some of the groups, you know, the size of the groups. So 30 meters, I've got, what have I got there? Probably a ½ inch group. At 32 meters, again, a ½ inch group. So I'm hoping that with some more practice I can tighten these groups up, and it will get to the point where I really won't be concerned what size the bullseye is on the knockdown plate. So long as I can get it down to within, you know, ½ inch, I'll be happy. I should be hitting the target out at whatever distance, and that's crucial in this game. The mat that I've got here, it's an HSF mat. I'll give you a link in the description below. First time using this, I found it comfortable. It's got some nice padding to it. It certainly kept the cold from me. You know, it didn't allow any cold to come up through the floor. Yeah, it's okay. I like it. I'm never quite sure which way round it should go, because obviously it's got the dark kind of leatherette area that I was resting on, and I prefer to rest on that part. Now whether that's supposed to be for your feet, I'm not sure, but I'm using it that way around, because you probably saw when I was cocking the rifle, I was basically jamming the underlever into the mat at that point, and that additional bit of protection at that end of the mat served its purpose. You know, it certainly didn't mark up with the bottom of that underlever. So yeah, good bit of kit. I'm quite happy with that. Nice that it's compact and then it folds up into, you know, really quite comfortable, a roll up. It does come with a shoulder strap as well. I've just taken that off for ease. And then these flags, guys, well, I said in the footage that my daughter bought me these. I'll give you a link in the description below as well. You can get these off of Amazon. She's got a box here, or got me a box of what I think there's about 50 or so. Yeah, 50 flags. I think five or so colours in there. And again, really handy, because it's quite interesting when you're, you know, when I shoot normally, I look at the trees and I look at the branches and I see what they're doing. But with these only sticking out of the ground by just short of a foot, you know, 200 mil, you can see what the wind's doing at ground level. And when you're shooting sort of quarry, it's a heck of a difference between the wind at say 6 foot and above as to at ground levels, and these are really quite handy to find out what's going on. So again, I'm going to thank my daughter for those, because they proved quite handy. With regards to windage and the effects of, like I say, wind going from left to right, I mean, we were having those gusts coming in from the right hand side. I was also surprised to note that actually it wasn't pushing the pellet that much, and that's kind of, for me, reassuring, and that's the reason why I want to shoot 2.2 as opposed to 0.177, because with that sort of wind, 0.177, the lower caliber, the lighter pellet, is affected more for sure. And this, to be honest, you know, where I was shooting left and right, I think that was my error for the most part. Yeah, I did have probably 4 or 5 flyers throughout the course of the day, and that will definitely be down to the pellet. So again, going forward, what I will be doing is measuring and weighing my pellets so that I have as few variables as possible going forward. But it was reassuring to know that, you know, the pellet wasn't pushed out as far as I imagined it would be with this level of gusts that we had. So all in all, I'm really pleased with the Weihrauch HW77K. I'm really pleased with the scope, and to say that I haven't done anything else to this rifle, I've not messed around with the springs, I've not messed around with the trigger. It is as I bought it, and I bought it second hand for £375. I mean, the scope, to be honest, is probably as much, well, it's not as much. You know, it's a fair chunk. That, you know, it's, I forget what it is actually off the top of my head. I'll put a description, a figure in the description down below, so you'll know exactly. But yeah, for just under, what are we talking, 375, so between 650 and 700 pounds, this is an awesome bit of kit. It really is. And again, you know, apart from a bit of brute force when you're cocking the lever, you don't need an additional air supply. You don't need a compressor or a tank. Yeah, it's a fantastic bit of kit. What I will do as well, because I was talking to my daughter about this, I will use her custom MPO2, which is a 0.177, obviously a PCP, and I'll put that through its paces as well, just as a comparison along the HFT journey, so I can see how different the two are. And if I go into an open event where you've got mixed calibers and PCP, well, it's just basically you can shoot whatever you want, then I'll know what I'm up against, because, you know, her custom NPO2 is a pretty special bit of kit. So if this competes against that, then I'll be more than happy, that's for sure. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm sorry that I've been whittling on a bit, and I'm sorry that I lost a little bit of the footage, but until the next one, as always, stay safe, shoot safe, and bye bye for now.